Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/inspireddisorder.
What you manifest in your mind, you can bring to reality.
What's up, everybody? Welcome to Swipe Up, the 115th episode where I share some of the favorite posts that I've seen on Instagram that I want to share with you. Let's start it off, shall we? With this first one. The NBA will not drug test players for marijuana this season. Probably I would think the first professional sports league that's not going to test at all, which makes sense. I mean, weed, like as far as performance enhancing drugs go, some say weed is a performance enhancing drug. I mean, it can help you relax. A lot of jiu-jitsu practitioners enjoy rolling high, and it helps them get in a flow state. So I would imagine like a cognitive kind of improvement when smoking high potentially, and maybe it helps relieve some pain and inflammation that happens. I mean, it's no more of a performance-enhancing drug than like taking some ibuprofen to relieve a headache, or maybe taking some nootropics to make your brain function a little bit faster, a little bit better. It's just ridiculous, and I think the U.S. government, Congress, maybe there was a law passed to decriminalize marijuana recently. I believe. I didn't look into it. I live in California. I've only lived in states where it's legal, especially since I didn't start smoking weed till I was 30. And at that time, it was medically legal in California, and soon after became recreational. Moved to Denver after it became recreational. So by the time I got back to the Valley, it was recreational. So I've never really had to deal with the stigma of weed being an illegal substance. Like if you were in Texas, let's say, they would love to throw you in a cage and remove your freedoms and forever change your life because of a plant that does nothing but that's never killed a human being on the face of Earth in its history. It's one of the safest things you can ingest. And, if it maybe makes you a little bit, paranoid, maybe it freaks you out a little bit. It's okay. It's not going to ruin your life. It's not going to alter your existence. Nobody's like on the streets dying because they smoke weed. That's pills. That's heroin, which usually people get hooked on heroin from a doctor who prescribes some heavy heroin pills. Opiates, any kind of opiate. That's the real problem, not weed. So congratulations to the NBA. I haven't watched the NBA since probably it was like around LeBron's rookie season. It was kind of coincided with when I stopped playing basketball myself. But I am glad they are doing this. I hope the UFC is kind of, they drug test people more than any other sport other than the Olympics, and I think they've adjusted their thresholds for THC metabolites. But I think there was a fighter who recently got busted, which sucks. It's ridiculous, especially like it helps your body recover from the damage that it takes on a regular basis. It's just ridiculous. So congratulations to the NBA. Moving on now to Doug Benson ran into I believe it's a Postmates robot, which is crazy that we are living in a time. No, it's Pepper. I guess that's another service out in LA. I would imagine that's where Doug Benson's at these days. But we are living in a time where businesses with a lot of money that probably was given to by the government are finding all of the ways to not have to employ humans anymore. Because not only do humans cost money, it's like, they may have to start paying us a living wage. Oh, businesses might have to start paying humans a wage that they can exist on and give us health care. So since they may have to actually start doing that, robots don't get sick. Robots don't get the coronavirus. Pandemics don't affect robots. So you can replace, I don't know how many delivery drivers in a city with some robots and never have to deal with any of that stuff. Maybe some maintenance. You hire a few humans to handle the maintenance on the robots. But for the most part, all of the drivers out there who are wasting their time getting paid horrible money by these delivery companies, and spending all the money they make on gas and maintenance for their cars. Robots are going to take over. So moving on from robots, but yeah, kind of an interesting. I've yet to see one of these in person, but I also don't live in a city where I would see one of these. It would be crazy to see one rolling down my suburb streets. Now, moving on to a photo that I loved. Say what you want about Nicolas Cage. He is always a interesting person in his films. I recently rewatched Adaptation, which I believe it's one of my favorite movies, if not my new favorite movie. By far, my favorite performance by Nicolas Cage. He plays twins in the movie, and it's a great movie. But yeah, this is him wearing a top hat and a big fur coat, and like very regal with a cane. And then his kid, has got an interesting outfit on as well. It's just, you know, it looks like they're comfortable in their ability to just be themselves, which I appreciate that. Of course, the location and tagged in this photo is Willy Wonka's chocolate factory, which I think works. I would actually love to see Willy Wonka if they were going to remake it, the original classic, which they remake everything. So, if anybody out there is listening in Hollywood land, and you don't want to actually produce any original content, and you want to remake Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, then Nicolas Cage, I think, would be an epic kind of replacement as Willy Wonka. But yeah, let's move on here to a local photo, which I have seen driving around in gated communities. This one looks like it's probably around the La Quinta area, maybe out in Indio, some of those like PGA West, maybe. But it's a bunch of mountain goats walking across the street in a gated community. Just kind of a crazy thing to see. As far as wildlife is concerned, you get different types of wildlife out here. A lot of road runners, lizards, sometimes scorpions, sometimes. But to see a bunch of mountain goats just kind of taking a stroll through your neighborhood, I guarantee there are people living in this gated community, a lot of conservative people who can afford to live in a nice gated community in the valley. Probably only live here for a few months a year while it's nice during the winter time, and then they fly back to wherever other home they have. They have multiple homes, so they got plenty of money. But they seem like the people that would be offended by this and would really be pushing local government to allow them to shoot these goats. I would not be surprised if there are some households in these gated communities that have lobbied to have the ability to quote unquote hunt them, but I'm sure more likely it would be similar to that couple that pointed guns at the protesters that got in trouble, that cried about like a photo of them ruining their life when pointing guns at protesters is you want to talk about snowflakes anyway. So just a crazy photo. Awesome to see. Now, last but not least, a special on Netflix, Nate, by Natalie Palmides. Palmides. I don't know how to pronounce her last name. A one-man show. Nate, a one-man show. It's on Netflix. Came out on December 1st. It is crazy. It is. I enjoyed it. It's different than every other comedy special I've seen. It is very much like a one-man show. Very awkward, but very funny. I really enjoyed it. And these are some behind-the-scenes photos of her prepping. before the show. But yeah, if you're into like awkward comedy, I highly recommend checking out Nate on Netflix. It's called Nate, a one-man show. I literally had to search for it. Usually new stuff on Netflix gets, shoved right to the recommend section. I couldn't even find this in the stand-up section. It was kind of embarrassing how much Netflix buried this. But I can see, people being offended on some level, I guess, or just not liking it, but it is awkward. But in that awkwardness, it is very funny. So I highly recommend checking it out. I really enjoyed it. So I wanted to share those behind the scenes photos of her preparing to go on stage. And let's do some shout outs and get out of here, shall we? Shall we do that? Shout out to What's the Odds, Steve. Shout out to You Don't Know, Doug. Shout out Shawnee Time. Shout out Coachella Valley, Panda Mulin, and Natalie Palamides. Hopefully I pronounced that right. But most importantly, shout out to you. If you are into coffee, and I know you are because you are a human, and most humans enjoy the delicious taste and effect of amazing home-brewed coffee, get yourself some small batch single origin coffee over at stationhousecoffee.com and follow Station House Coffee on Instagram. It's brewed in Thetford Center, Vermont, and shipped directly to you. Support small business as they support your ability to wake up in the morning and buy yourself some amazing coffee at stationhousecoffee.com and follow Station House Coffee on Instagram. New episodes of The Ray Taylor Show come out every single day. Subscribe on IGTV, YouTube, and everywhere else podcasts are found. Binge the full week ad-free over at patreon.com/Inspired Disorder. Buy Ray Taylor Show merch over at inspireddisorder.com. And follow the show on Instagram at Ray Taylor Show. Have a great day, everybody. Peace out!